Hi everyone, and welcome to another pause to pray. Apologies for the lockdown hairstyle. Hopefully my hair won't be too wild during this session. I want to do something a bit different this time. I want to start by playing a game. So you might need a pen and a bit of paper, but you don't have to, assuming you're reasonably competent at maths. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you, everyone watching the video, let's say we get, 100 people viewing this video. What, so many, I can see you thinking. You need to guess a number between 0 and 100. But you need to guess, the number that you guess needs to be what you think will be 2/3 of the average guess. So I'll say that again. You need to choose a number between 0 and 100, and it needs to be 2/3 of the average guess. So I think just take a moment to figure that one out. And if you can, put your answer in the comments section under this video. Interested to see what kind of answers we get. So we'll take a break now, and after that I'll come back and talk through the answers. Welcome back. Now I'm going to be fascinated to look at this comments later and see what kind of answers we got. But let's run through them. So just to recap, your guess had to be 2/3 of the average guess. And it was you could choose a number between 0 and 100. So if you chose 67 or anything higher than that, then without wanting to be rude, your maths is not in great shape, because it's the highest number people could choose was 100. So the 2/3 of the maximum could never be more than 66. So let's think about the next level down. So I wonder how many people chose 50. So if you chose 50, I don't think you were really listening to the question. You weren't really thinking. You're thinking 100, it's between 0 and 100, averaging about 50, rather than 2/3 of the average. So let's then drop down a level. I wonder how many people chose 33, which is 2/3 of 50. So by the way, this is in the theory of mind, which is where this game comes from. 33 is probably the most common first answer from people that are first exposed to this challenge. If you think about it, if you chose 33, then what you thought was that everyone else would choose 50. In other words, everyone else didn't really listen to the question properly, and your 33 is based on that. And that's what you might call a level 1 thinker. You assume that you're clever enough to figure out the challenge, but everyone else is a bit stupid and won't really listen. If you go one step further, you'll go down to a level 2 thinker, and you'll assume that everyone else is level 1 thinkers. In other words, everyone else will have chosen 33 because they think a bit. You might think people at Hillview are a clever bunch, they'll all choose 33, so I'll go for 22. And then of course you can see that the smarter that you are and the higher level thinker you are, your answer will get lower and lower and lower until eventually, if you were super, super, super smart, you'd end up at 0. So theoretically, the best answer, the cleverest answer would be 0. But would you win this challenge if you guessed 0? I'm guessing not, because you'd be in a lonely place. You'd be so subtle and cunning that you would have outdone everybody else. And I think that the actual answer will be quite a bit higher. So why am I talking about this? Well, I like to consider how we could think about this different levels of theory of mind when we look at verses in the Bible. So I don't know if you're fascinated as much as I am by the fact that we're still talking, discussing, and analysing the words of a carpenter that were written down approximately 2,000 years ago. So let's have a look at some verses of scripture. Let's look at a famous parable of the Good Samaritan, which is in Luke's Gospel, chapter 10, verses 29 to 37.
But he wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, "And who is my neighbour?" In reply, Jesus said, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he travelled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. 'Look after him,' he said, 'and when I return I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have.' Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbour to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers?" The expert in the law replied, "The one who had mercy on him." Jesus told him, "Go and do likewise."
So this parable was told after a discussion on the meaning of neighbour, in discussion with another teacher of the law. And as we believe Jesus was the Son of God, we know that in going back to our theory of minds, he had perfect knowledge, and he was a deeper thinker than everyone around him. And he's not only got to get his point across to the Palestinian Jews that are thronging round listening to the discussion, he also knows that for the next 2,000 plus years, people are going to be discussing his words. So he doesn't go all super clever and unintelligible. He puts across his story in a way that's intelligible to the people around him. But it's also packed with multiple layers of meaning that give it fresh interest to every subsequent generation, I guess. So I'll be interested to how many of those layers that you can identify in this story. I suppose the first one might be what's the definition of neighbour? So a fairly straightforward answering the question. So your neighbour is not just the person that lives next door to you, or a person that happens to share the same culture, religious faith and beliefs. It could actually be somebody like the Samaritan that the Jews hated. So could be somebody from a different culture. So it really widens the scope of neighbour. And then a second layer. The second layer might be there are the 3 kinds of people that encountered the traveller. So you've got the thief whose view is, well, I'll take what belongs to you. You've then got the religious leader who's saying, well, I'm sorted. I'm not actively doing anything bad, but I'm going to hang on to what I've got. That's mine. What belongs to me is mine. And then the Samaritan's philosophy of, I've got stuff, but I'm happy to share it with you. And thinking about that is quite challenging. It's not as simple as saying to do wrong is to actively go and steal. But when you see somebody that needs help and you refuse to go and help them, that's also doing wrong. And then maybe the third layer might be, well, a bit of self-awareness, well, broadening out this story. Which of those 3 am I? Am I a thief? Am I somebody who's materialistic and I'm just going to stay and hoard up my possessions and think I'm living a good life because I'm not hurting anybody? Or am I going to be the kind of person that actually goes out and shares what I have with people that need it. And then you might even find a fourth layer. The fourth layer might be something like, who are the people in today's world that are hurting? Who are the modern day equivalent of the guy that was beaten up? So I'd be interested to know your comments. But yeah, I think it's been fascinating. It's fascinating for me that we're still reading the words of Jesus 2,000 years later. I hope that you've enjoyed the session. Look forward to hearing your comments, and have a great week. Thank you.